Grab your luggage. SailTrek is next.
And welcome. One of the great things about SailTrek is getting to visit out-of-the-way places. Join us this week as we sail the Starflyer to places that are truly unique.
And if you're visiting somewhere unique, why not dress the part? Tony Harris explains.
St. Christopher Island, or as we've come to know it, St. Kitts. Surrounded by the Caribbean Sea on one side and the Atlantic Ocean on the other, St. Kitts has some of the most beautiful white sand beaches and turquoise waters you'll ever dip your toes into. Kittitians, as the residents call themselves, are mostly of African descent. Their charm and the natural unspoiled beauty are just a few reasons why the country has racked up global awards. The Batik Factory is one of the island's leading destinations.
Caribel was established in 1976. We do the Indonesian art of waxing and dyeing, but we have our own Caribbean twists inspired by our surroundings and the colors. So we do a lot of vibrant colors, and we enjoy what we do. I think they do practice on a small scale in St. Lucia, and I know in Bahamas, but St. Kitts is the one place that we do it on such a large scale. We actually export and have an online store. The owner, Morris Widdowson, is actually from the UK, but has lived in St. Kitts for more than 46 years. His first batik was actually done in his kitchen. Pre-pandemic, I had a staff of almost 50 persons, so we were producing on a daily basis year-round. Not mass production, because each piece is done by hand, so it's individually done by different persons, and there are no pieces exactly alike. But we were able to make just enough to carry us through every single season that we had. I mean, I have employees that have been here for 45 years. I'm 42, so they're older than I am. They enjoy it. They love what they do. It puts their family through school, their children, their grandchildren, so they take pride in coming to work every single day. I mean, post-pandemic, I still have employees that have now returned to us that was here from the original. Mary is actually my oldest staff, and she dyes every single item with her eyes closed.
So how much work is involved in making one of these exclusive creations? We asked batik artist Ella Fleming.
The art that we're doing, it is called batik. Batik is a wax and dye process. We use the wax to protect one color from the other, and this is how we start, always on a piece of white cotton material. So we had a design traced on first with a pencil from an original. The lady will then apply a mixture of hot beads and paraffin wax to the areas that she wants to stay white. That's the first step. If she's doing white areas, she uses a normal paintbrush. But for the finer lines, she would use a tool like this. We call it a chanting or wax pen. The wax goes through that hole there, then it comes out at the point. Now after waxing where she wants to stay white, we take it off and we dip it into a color. The white you see is where we wax first. The wax is still there. She wants to keep some of the blue now. She will put more wax onto the areas that she wants to keep blue. We will continue the process of waxing and dyeing until we have the amount of colors. For instance, that is going to be 5 colors. We go through the process 5 times. To remove the wax, we boil it for 30 minutes. The wax float, we skim it off, and that's the finished product.
Lush gardens, historic artifacts, shopping for one-of-a-kind fashions, and wall hangings makes for an unforgettable experience.
Here aboard the Starflyer, the pace of life is wonderful, relaxed and mellow, but there's always a hint of excitement about what we'll find over the horizon. For this story, we go off ship and into the ocean to see the world's first underwater sculpture park. Jim Scott has more.
There is a mystery about the sea. The waves of the world's oceans are ever-changing, mirroring the ebb and flow of life above the water. But there is a whole other world beneath the sea. There is great beauty there, but there are also problems, like those facing many coral reefs, not just in the Caribbean, but around the world. From time to time, SailTrek Global Diary will take a look at what's happening on many of our islands and in the waters that surround them. One of the places where efforts are underway to help and actually improve the fragile seas is in Grenada, where a remarkable underwater sculpture park was created more than 15 years ago. an effort by artist Jason DeCarius Taylor. It combines art and the environment. Even as beautiful as the sculptures are, recently several were brought to the surface so that they could be repaired and renovated. One more example of man and nature working together for the good of our global community.
We're aboard this magnificent tall ship, the Starflyer, a connection to an earlier time when tall ships ruled the seas.
And when ships traveled beside each other, Jim Scott takes us to a regatta, better known as a sailing race.
One of the greatest pleasures of being aboard a tall ship is to experience the pure joy of sailing. Powered only by the wind, our tall ship, the Starflyer, is a connection to traditions that date back hundreds of years, and one that we can revel in today. The Starflyer is only one in the Star Clipper's fleet. Besides its sister ship, the Star Clipper, there is the Grand Dame, the Royal Clipper, the largest fully rigged sailing ship in the world. At 439 feet with 5 masts and 42 sails, the Royal Clipper is truly majestic. But the Starflyer, while smaller, is also sleek and fast. And when you have two ships, inevitably there's a race. Each week during the Caribbean sailing season, the Starflyer and the Royal Clipper cross paths. And that means it's race time. Time to claim the week's bragging rights. It's all in fun and exciting for both ships and passengers. Not quite the around-the-world Clipper ship races of the 1800s, but a sight rarely seen these days. There are no real winners or losers, rather a time for both ships' captains and both crews to share in the camaraderie that has sustained the sailing tradition for centuries.
Did you have fun? We sure did. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you on our next adventure.